Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today. In this process video, I'll be working with the stunning Marbled Elegance DSP by Stampin' Up. I'll be creating a double page layout. I purchased the full suite collection and I'm excited to share how I'm using it with you. This collection is part of the online exclusives that launched on November 5th. So my first reaction when I saw this paper was, wow! The colors are rich and vibrant with beautiful gold foiling throughout. But I know it can be a bit intimidating to work with such busy papers. But don't worry. In today's video, I'll show you how working with bold pattern papers doesn't have to be scary. As you can see, this suite features a variety of reds, pinks, gorgeous gold accents. I'll be using these two patterns for today's layout. While this collection is perfect for Valentine's Day cards or scrapbooking, I'm actually documenting something a little different. In addition to the paper, the suite includes some beautiful embellishments like gold twisted thread, adhesive backed sequent hearts in 3 different sizes, the Hearts of Elegance stamp set, and assorted die cut hearts. There are also some adorable white paper bags in 2 different sizes. These are going to be perfect for Valentine treats and surprises. This is one of the photos I am documenting today. It is of my parents that was taken this summer during a memorable occasion. My mom is wearing a beautiful pink dress and blazer, and while the paper I'm using is a bit brighter of pink, the softer pink, whites, and gold marbling will help balance the design. I've started today's double page layout by creating a framed foundation for both pages. I've already gutted the marble paper. Basically, I cut out the center of the pages to save the scraps for another project. This way, I'm getting more out of my paper without wasting anything. I also did the same treatment to the black cardstock. Now I'm going to take the pieces I removed from the center of the marble paper and cut them down to 6 inches tall. I'll use the back side of the marbled paper for some extra texture and interest in the layout. Since I wanted to tone down some of the brightness in this layout, I decided to do a little stash busting and dug through my collection to find an older 4.5 by 6.5 inch paper pack from Stampin' Up. It's called Stacked with Love. It is retired, but I love the colors and patterns in it, so I'm excited to use it on this spread. One of the colors in the pack is called Crisp Cantaloupe, which matches my mom's outfit perfectly in this photo. I've picked 2 patterns from the Stacked with Love paper pack to work with. The first one has multicolored dots in real red, black, crisp cantaloupe, and calypso coral. Of course, it's on a whisper white background. The second paper I chose is a little more subtle with a white and pink chevron design. I'll be using both of these as mats for my photo to give them a little extra pop. I'm going to finalize all my cutting and I'll be right back. My layers are all trimmed and mostly attached. So now I'll bring in my photos to show you what the layout is going to look like altogether. So for the base, I'm using the marbled paper as my main backdrop. I've left just under 1 inch showing around the 3 sides of both pages, creating a soft border across the spread. On top of that, I've layered black cardstock with about 1/4 inch reveal around the edges. I did trim the black cardstock to 10 by 11 inches. Then I've used a piece of basic white cardstock that measures 9 3/4 by 10 3/4 inches on each page. This will sit inside the black cardstock frame and provide a nice clean backdrop for the rest of the design. To help bring in more black and to give some definition between the pattern papers, I'm going to ink the edges using my Memento Tuxedo black ink and my ink dauber. I really love how this simple step adds a lot of depth to the design. I'm not inking the inside edge of the papers because I want the layout to look like one continuous 12 by 24 spread. While I'm doing this, I always think it's the perfect time to talk a little about my pictures. These photos are extra special because my parents celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary this summer. As part of the celebration, they renewed their wedding vows. It's such a meaningful memory, and I'm so excited to document it today. Now, I'll be honest, these pictures are not the best quality. I took them from my pew so I wouldn't disturb the moment, but honestly, sometimes it's not the picture quality, it's about the memory. And I'm just glad that I could capture this moment, even if the pictures aren't perfect. I am so happy and proud of my parents for reaching this huge milestone. Now that I've finished my inking technique, I'll go ahead and attach the rest of my layers. Everything is now attached, and you're probably wondering what's happening with this large space over here. My plan is to use it for journaling, but I'm going to leave it for now. If you look closely at my mom in this picture, you'll notice she has a white carnation flower on her lapel. That gives me the idea to use this flower die for this layout. This particular set is from Close to My Heart, but was sold by Stampin' Up. As I'm filming this, Stampin' Up has all their Close to My Heart products on sale, and the last time I checked, the Secret Garden kits, thin cuts, and stamp sets were all still available. Anyway, this is the flower I'm going to be using to embellish the layout. As a boy mom, I don't often have a reason to use flowers on my scrapbook pages, so when I have the opportunity, I'm definitely going to take it. This set is just gorgeous. For my flowers, I'm thinking I'll cut out a few from the coordinating colors in this collection. I have Melon, Mamba, basic white, and this pale pink cardstock from my stash. It is a great match for the crisp cantaloupe color that's in the pattern paper I used to mat my photos. I think this will all tie in nicely together. This thin cut set has 3 layers to make one flower. I'm also using the leaf thin cut from the set, and I plan to stamp some of the leaves using the leaf stamp that comes in another stamp set with thin cuts as part of the scrapbooking workshop kit. I'll go ahead and cut all the layers off camera and come back with everything ready to assemble. Here are all my flowers. But before I start attaching all the layers together, I want to add some dimension to them. Unfortunately, I don't have Melon Mambo ink, but I do have a retired color called Strawberry Splash. It's not quite as bright as Melon Mambo, but I think it'll work perfectly for what I need. I'm going to use my blender brush and silicone mat and add a little color to the center of each flower layer. I'll use a circular motion to blend the color. Before I apply it to the flower though, I'm going to blot some of the ink off first. This will help prevent too much ink going onto one spot. It'll give the flower a nice gradient effect. I'll ink a few flowers with you on camera, then I'll finish the rest off camera. Here are my finished flowers, and I absolutely love how they turned out. The dimension and color are just perfect. I also cut out some leaves in black cardstock. I have black already in my design, and I did not want to introduce too many new colors into this layout. Since I'm using bold patterns, I felt it was important to keep my color choices minimal to let everything else shine. As I had mentioned before, I plan on using the leaf stamp, and I'm going to emboss it with gold powder and use the thin cut to cut it out. For heat embossing, the supplies you'll need are VersaMark ink embossing powder. In this case, I'm using gold, and a heat gun. I'll go ahead and get my area set up here and clear away my flowers so I have room to work. I'm using a few scraps of basic white cardstock for this part. First, I'll stamp the leaf with VersaMark ink, making sure to leave enough space around the image for the die cut to cut it out. I'm going to stamp 3 leaves for now, but I want to work quickly so the ink doesn't dry before we pour the embossing powder on it. One thing I forgot to show on camera is that I used my anti-static pouch and rubbed it on the paper before stamping. This helps prevent any stray embossing powder from sticking where you don't want it. I like to use a coffee filter to catch the embossing powder so I can easily pour it back into the container. You want full coverage on your stamped image, so make sure you pour enough powder on it. Then I use a clean brush to carefully wipe away any of the extra powder, making sure everything looks neat before I pour the remaining powder back into the container. Now I did speed this process up quite a bit, but I wanted to show you how I achieve this look. So for the heat embossing part, I'm going to use my heat gun. First, I'll start from the underside to heat the paper, but be careful because it really gets hot. Then I'll come at it from the top side too, which helps prevent the paper from warping. It's a bit loud, so I'll finish the rest off camera. Here are some of the finished leaves. Now let's bring both pages back into view and start placing the flowers around the layout. I'm thinking I want to place some flowers in the top right-hand corner and then balance things out with a cluster at the bottom left on the left side. This will help create a nice symmetrical balance across the spread. I want to use the hot pink flower at the bottom here, and then the lighter pink flowers with white at the top of the right. I'm just arranging the leaves around the flowers to see how the clusters will look. Next, let's fill in the open space I set aside for my journaling. I found some more of the multicolored dot pattern paper, and I thought it would be perfect to break up the white space and to add a little extra interest. I have 2 pieces of the paper that I'll piece together and fill in the space nicely. Once that's in place, I'll add white cardstock on top after I've typed out what I want to say about this special day. I'm also planning to incorporate the speech my oldest sister read during the supper, as well as details about the evening. Now to add some hot pink to the upper right cluster. I'm going to incorporate a heart from the die set that came with the suite. There are several different sizes to choose from, but I really love this one because it has a beautiful dry embossed detail in the cut. To add a bit more contrast, I'll also cut out a larger heart in black cardstock to back it onto. I'm going to tuck these hearts behind the photo here and then set my embellishments on top. This will create the perfect spot for my flowers and help everything come together in a nice cohesive way. Now I'll tuck the leaves and the flowers back into place and finalize the arrangement. Next, I want to stamp a sentiment on the heart. I'm using a stamp from my stash. It's from Close to My Heart, and the set is called Love Ya. I really love the phrase, "You are a blessing," because I know that is how my parents feel about each other. So it's perfect for this layout. I'll stamp it directly onto the heart using black ink. I'll move the layout to the side for a moment and bring in my foam mat to stamp on. I'm using a clear block to pick up the stamp, and since I want the placement of the sentiment in a specific spot on the heart, I'm going to grab both the heart and the flowers so I know exactly where to stamp on. I'll do a few test stamps on a scrap piece paper first, and then I'll stamp onto my heart. Perfect. Now I'll clean off the stamp and bring the layout back into view. This looks so cute. So for my title, I thought I would use another heart. First, I'll ink the edges to help it stand out more against the pattern papers. I'll place the title up here to create a visual triangle and bring in a third point of interest. I have this perfect stamp that says, "It's a beautiful life," and it fits just right in the heart I cut out. I'm not sure if I want to use black ink or bring in more of the strawberry color to match the flowers, so I'll test it out. I'll place my stamp down on the foam mat and pick it up with my clear block. I have some scrap paper nearby to test the stamp first before I commit to stamping it onto the heart. I'll try stamping with black ink first and see how that looks. If I don't like it, I can always flip the heart over and stamp on the other side. You're probably wondering why I didn't stamp all my images at once. Well, the truth is, I didn't know I was going to use a stamp for the title until just now. Okay, I think I'm happy with the way that looks, so let's go for it. I'll give it a minute to soak in, and oh no, I'm missing part of the banner on each side. No worries, I've got an idea. I'll stamp the image out again onto a scrap piece of white cardstock using the strawberry ink color, and then I'll cut out the banner element and add it to the title. No one will ever know. I'll just quickly stamp that and cut it out off camera. I used foam dimensional dots to pop up the banner on the heart. Now I'll place it in the spot where I think it'll live, but I'm having a hard time deciding its final position. So for now, I'm going to move on to adding other elements to my clusters. Since I already have a heart here for my title, and on the right-hand side cluster, I want to repeat that shape in my third cluster. I used a smaller die that adds stitching detail around the outer edge and cut it out of white cardstock. I'll tuck that in with my flowers here. I'm really happy with how my embellishments are coming together on the layout. Now I'm going to spend some time attaching all the clusters onto the page. I have sped this process up a bit, but I still wanted you to see how I go about adhering my items to my clusters. That little white heart is looking a bit bare, so I'm going to use the Hearts of Elegance stamp set once again. It has a cute XOXO stamp on it, which will fit perfectly. I'm going to stick with the black ink for consistency, and I will do that off camera. All my clusters are attached to the layout, and while I was working on that, I realized I wasn't really liking the color combo of the cantaloupe pink cardstock on the strawberry ink. So I decided to emboss it in gold instead, and I think it looks so much better. Isn't that so pretty? I also used one more heart to stamp 60th on it. I wanted to repeat the Melon Mamba color in the title area, and I thought it would be a great way to do that. I have placed that white piece of cardstock there to show you what my journaling will look like. But unfortunately, there is a line where the two pieces of pattern papers meet behind it. So I'm going to cover that seam up with some of the gold twisted thread. I'll cut a piece of thread and use double-sided tape to attach it. I'm going to use two pieces of the thread, then make a little bow using a glue dot. To do that, I'll fold the thread into thirds and place a glue dot in the middle. Then I'll roll it around itself to create a little bow. I'll snip off the ends and it looks great. I'll make another one for the other side too. So why not add more hearts? These adhesive back heart sequins are so cute, and they come in 3 different sizes. I'll add them around my embellishment clusters to add a little extra pop. And since diamonds represent 60 years, I thought it would be perfect to use these basic rhinestone jewels that look like diamonds. I'll place them around the 3 embellishment areas to add a little sparkle and tie in the theme of the celebration. While I'm doing that, I wanted to take this moment to thank everybody for spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and picked up some great ideas for using vibrant pattern papers in your layouts. If you're wondering why my work surface looks different halfway through the video, it's because it changed. I actually got pulled away during filming and didn't get a chance to finish this project until 2 days later. In that time, we left town, watched my son's last football game of the season, and made a quick stop to IKEA. So there you go. Life happens and we don't always get our projects done when we think we're going to. I also decided I did not like that second bow there, so I'm going to move it over to the little white heart. So to recap, I wanted to keep the layout clean and balanced, so I stuck with just 4 key colors. I chose 2 neutrals, white and black, to create a solid foundation. Then I used 2 different shades of the pink to bring in warmth and depth, Finally, I added touches of gold accents to carry the gold foiling from the pattern paper throughout the rest of the layout. This not only adds a bit of sparkle, but also elevates the overall feel without overwhelming the design. This color palette ensures the layout stays cohesive and uncluttered while still offering visual interest. Here's a closer view of the design and all the embellishments. I'll have my journaling done soon. I'm just waiting for my sister to send me a copy of her speech to include. I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot on YouTube. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel. That way you don't miss out on any of my future videos. I film a new one every week. Here's a video YouTube thinks you might enjoy. I'll also list all the items I used to create this layout in the description box below. Until next time, happy crafting, everyone.